Hello? Okay. Um,
Okay, so
Okay. Okay. Okay, so today we'll be talking about rest. Rest is one of the 8 natural laws of good health.
and we will be going over what rest really is, the benefits of rest, and what we can do to get adequate rest. So, when a lot of people think of rest in the context of New Start, they think of sleep in particular. But according to the New Oxford American Dictionary, rest is
To cease work or movement in order to refresh oneself or recover strength.
so we need to have a good balance of sleep and refreshing rest throughout the day. So here are some interesting facts that we found about sleep.
1/3 of our lives are spent sleeping. Humans are the only mammals that willingly delay sleep. If you take less than 5 minutes to fall asleep, you are sleep deprived. Snoring is the primary cause of sleep disruption for about 37 million American adults.
Okay. So, a surprising study done by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition links sleep to appetite and weight loss.
A solid night of sleeping may provide extra willpower. We are discovering that a part of the brain that controls sleep also plays a role in appetite and metabolism. Metabolism, sorry, my bad.
So, when you don't get enough sleep, your body makes more ghrelin, a hunger hormone, and less leptin, a hormone that tells you you're full.
So, how much sleep? Okay, so how much sleep do you guys think we need daily? 9 hours? 10 hours? 8.5 to 10 hours? 12? All right, well, that's good. All right, well, actually, newborn babies need 16 to 20 hours. Children need 10 to 12 hours. Teenagers need 8 to 10 hours. And adults need 7 to 9 hours.
So, what are some of the benefits of rest?
Rest aids in the healing of injuries, infections, and other assaults on the body.
So, when you sleep, you give your body time to repair itself, both mentally and physically. As you sleep, your brain organizes the information you receive that day through your 5 senses into long-term memory. Sleeping also helps in problem-solving skills.
It strengthens the body's immune system.
Studies have shown that while we sleep, we create disease-fighting substances, and when we don't get enough sleep, our body doesn't produce as many of these substances. Thus, we are more susceptible to disease. And not enough sleep while we are sick can also lengthen the amount of time we are sick, because when we are sleep deprived, our immune system is not strong enough to totally fight off the bug.
It can lengthen your life.
Studies have also shown that people who regularly sleep 7 to 8 hours each night have a lower death rate than those who average either less than 7 hours or sleep much, much longer.
And it gives your body time to rejuvenate.
So, regular periods of rest throughout the day have been proven to lower stress, heighten concentration levels, clear the mind, and raise energy levels. Overwork and continual stress can lead to breakdowns, fatigue, and depression.
Okay, so some of you guys may be asking, how do I start? Well,
Often we think our schedules are too busy to allow us to have time for rest. We say, I would rest, but I simply can't rest right now. I have too much homework, or I'll let you fill in the blank. Many people struggle with the same problem. People simply think that they don't have a way to rest, even if they know the benefits. But there is a way. The key is starting small and planning ahead.
the steps. Number 1, start with going to bed at least 2 hours before midnight.
This might seem hard to do. You might be saying, but that's when I do all the stuff I need to catch up on. When do I have time to do these things? The answer is in the morning. Every hour of sleep before midnight is equivalent to 2 hours after midnight. The earlier you go to bed and the earlier you rise, the better. I know for a fact that I find it really hard to wake up in the morning, and I would much rather stay up and do my homework, and that's what I do a lot of times. And so it's one of the hardest things to wake up in time for chapel. But I found that if I go to bed on time regularly, I tend to feel more energized and ready to wake up in the morning. And my body tells me that I have had enough sleep. I have learned that usually when I can't wake up in the morning, it is because I have stayed up too late the night before.
Okay, so number 2, take regular breaks, small breaks throughout the day.
So for those doing physical work, this might mean reading a book or taking a small nap. And for those doing mental work, it could mean taking a short walk outside. These breaks don't have to be very long. 5 to 10 minutes is beneficial. Short breaks taken frequently can have the same positive effect on the body as one long break.
And number 3, which is one of the most important to me, observe the Sabbath.
So the Bible says in Genesis 2, verse 2 through 3, that God rested on the seventh day and sanctified it because he rested on that day. Science has also proven that there are 7-day cycles in our bodies and nature.
Right here it says, just as the body has a natural daily clock, it also has a weekly clock. Medical research has demonstrated such rhythms in connection with a variety of physiological functions.
So Sabbath is a time for rest from the stresses of work and daily life. We still should be balanced and get the exercise we need every day. This can be accomplished by serving God in the community.
And what the Bible has to say about rest, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Exodus 33:14.
So if you take anything away from this presentation, just remember that Jesus promised us perfect rest in him. So thank you.
Okay, so hello, good morning, everyone. Okay, so we've come to the last but not least of the 8 laws of health, and it's trusting in God. So a lot of people wonder, what does trusting in God really have to do with health? So that's what we're going to be figuring out today. Let's start with some basics. What is the purpose of being healthy anyways? What do you guys think is the purpose of being healthy? Not dying. Okay. Anything else? Huh? No drugs? Good. All right, so here are some of the things I came up with. We're made in the image of God, and being healthy is one way of restoring that. And like Cameron said, we are the temple of God, and that's keeping it pure for God. But one I really like is that he wants us to be happy. So there's a verse in John 10:10 that says, I am come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. And I kind of feel like it says, I am come. So that kind of almost puts a high price or respect on living abundantly, because Jesus came and lived so that we could be happy. So some of the ways I think we can live abundantly is by New Start. We can eat healthy, we feel more energized and exercising, we get more blood to our brain, water, we feel refreshed. But don't you think that trusting in God is also living abundantly? I definitely think it is. It is in my life as I'm just going through my day, and I can remember that God is there with me as I'm going through this. So that is definitely I feel more happier in my day, and it can be that way for you too. So how is it connected, kind of continued? So believing is half the battle. So there was these doctors, and they, of course, had their patients, and they had something called a placebo. And a placebo is pretty much just like a fake pill or any kind of fake medication. And the doctors gave it to the patients, but the patients didn't know that it was fake. So the patients completely believed and trusted their doctors, and a lot of them either completely their symptoms decreased or they completely got better. And it's the same with God. We can trust him too. And it's even in the Bible. And it says in Mark 5:34, your faith has made you well. And again in Mark 9:23, if you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. So even Jesus, he's saying your faith is what has made you well. Believing is half the battle. So let's look at it a little bit more physically. This is what I've come up with. Stress. So there are two kinds of stress. There's the good stress and bad stress. And good stress is just, it kind of helps you stay alert, kind of react quickly, and just kind of stay observant to your surroundings. But bad stress is chronic stress. And when your body is dealing with stress, it releases two hormones, one called cortisol and the other called corticosteroids. And if your body releases like not a lot of these, then it's the good stress. But if it releases too much, it can be damaging. It can hurt your immune system, you'll have sleep problems, you'll have anxiety, and even digestive problems. So something that I kind of concluded from this is like, okay, stress is like the opposite kind of trusting in God. If you're stressed, you don't really have peace, you're worried all the time, you're not trusting in God. But when you are trusting in God, you do have peace, and you are not going to be stressed. So if stress hurts us physically, then I think that trusting in God can help us physically. It'll help our immune system. It'll fix sleep problems and anxiety and other things. So another one is lowering depression. There were some cool studies done on this one, and there was one done over several people over a 10-month period. And it was shown that the people that had like a faith or believed in God, they were actually 76% less likely to be depressed than the people that like didn't have a faith or didn't believe in God. Another study was done over 130 individuals over a several-month period, and the people that, again, they had a faith or they trusted in God, they actually had thicker brain cortices. And your brain cortex is pretty much just like the gray matter. When your gray matter is larger, you have more brain activity, which is good for you. So another one is living longer. We all want to live longer, right? So there was a scientist, and his name was Tom Knox, and he did these kinds of studies too. And Tom Knox said, study after study backs up the benefits of having faith, especially in prolonging life. In 2006, population researchers at the University of Texas discovered that the more often you go to church, the longer you live. And the most amazing thing I find about Tom Knox is that he was actually an atheist, but he did this research, and by looking at the data, he actually became a believer. He believed that there must be a God through looking at these people. So it helps other things like hearing and sight, cardiovascular problems, it lowers blood pressure, and much, much more that we could go into. So how can we trust in God? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a volunteer at this time. Harold. Okay, so you can just stand here, and I'm going to pretend that I don't know you, and you don't know me. So you've never met me before, but I've heard all about you, okay? And I've heard that you're a super trustworthy person. Like, I can trust you with anything. Okay? And, like, you can even, like, trust your life. I can trust my life to you, okay? So people are talking about it. I've even, like, read newspapers articles on it. Like, you're super trustworthy. But I don't know you. I've never met you before. I just know all about you, okay? So I decided I'm going to go meet Harold. All right. Hi, my name is Rahel. Your name's Harold, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, I've been kind of feeling lonely lately, and I just really wanted to rely on someone that I could trust. And I was wondering if you could be my best friend, and I'll be your best friend. Does that sound good?
I've never met you before, but I guess.
Yes, are you sure? I mean, you've never met me before. Does that sound realistic?
No, it does not.
Exactly, you can sit down now. So that doesn't really sound realistic. And it's the same with God. You can't just read about him. You can't just hear enough sermons about him. And everyone says, oh, you can trust him. He's amazing. But you have to know it for yourself. You have to get to know him and build a relationship with him. So some of the ways I think we can build a relationship is through prayer. And prayer is just communication with God. And communication is like a huge part of a relationship. If I was friends with Helen and I never called her, or I never talked to her in the day, or text her or whatever you do, I wouldn't really be friends with her. You have to communicate with people, and prayer is how we communicate with God. Another way is through daily devotion. And you might think, oh, I have to have my 5-minute devotions in the morning. I know. But I don't think that daily devotion always means just once a day daily devotion. I think daily devotion kind of means like all day devotion. And I don't mean constantly talking to God. Like you wouldn't literally talk to your friend all day. So it's just like when you find yourself alone, you'll talk with him and just kind of think of him as like a friend. So when you're doing things, you're kind of like hanging out with him. Another one is fellowshipping with other trusters. I mean, a lot of people say believers, but we're talking about trust. So, you go to church and you get to see how other people have their walk with God and see their experience, and you can kind of see how they do it. So, what it has done for me. So, in my life, as I was kind of like searching for truth, really, and just trying to find like who God really was, God showed me something, and it was very consecutive. Either it was like when I was reading a book, or maybe listening to a sermon, or reading a story, or it was in the Bible, or even overhearing a conversation. It was the word trust. And he showed me it like one right after the other. And I was like, wow, you must be showing me something. And at the time, I was kind of dealing with like, man, I'm really trying to have this relationship with God, but it's not working. So I think he was showing me, just trust me. Just trust me. So I encourage you guys to try to just step out there and just get to know God, to build that relationship with him and learn that you can trust him and he's worth trusting. Thank you.
Well, who learned something new today? Like I did, to be honest. Did you learn something new? I did. Thank you, Rahel, for your presentation. It was really helpful for me, basically. And this week, all the freshmen have been presenting on New Start. And thank you, freshmen, for all the presentations. We really appreciate it, your hard work. And personally, I learned a lot. Did you? Yeah. So much. I need more rest now. I am sleep deprived. That's what I learned. And trust in God is really big, which I need to start to do more often, and daily devotions. Anything you want to say?
Since I'm in the freshman class, I think we did really good, honestly. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for then. All the freshmen give themselves a pat on the back. Never mind, don't do that. All right. And, can we just have a word of prayer for us to go? All right, so everyone bow their heads, close their eyes. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for being with us through the week. We thank you for the freshmen giving presentations this week. And we thank you for all you've done. And Lord, we ask that people will learn something from what we have presented this week. And we thank you for giving Miss Yvonne the strength to make us do this, because we didn't really want to do it at first, but I think in the end it came out good. All right. Forgive us for our sins, comes to righteousness. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.